Welcome to The American Spectacle, a podcast dedicated to the art of American dance, exploring the past, present, and future of dance, and discussing ways to re-engage communities, young people, in the most American of all arts, dance.
Before we begin, what if one drink could carry the weight of a lifetime? The Dressing Drink, a memoir by Thomas King Flagg, peels back the layers of an orphan's legacy, blending beauty, heartbreak, and hard truths into one unforgettable story. The Dressing Drink, available now wherever books are sold.
I'm Tom Flagg, the host of American Spectacle. I'm a longtime arts supporter and arts advocate to the art of dance. Today, I have the great pleasure of introducing extraordinary and exceptional guests. And with us today, Anna Morgan.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. It's so nice to see you. It's virtual, but I'll take what I can get.
Absolutely.
So happy to have you. I've gathered some exceptional and extraordinary human beings from across the globe to talk about their involvement, their love of, their belief in dance, and you're one of them. That's for damn sure. So could you give us a little background about how you were inspired, where you started and such?
Of course. So ballet was always my background. Started, as soon as I could walk, basically. And like many of the young girls of my generation, it was all about Darcy. Darcy Bustle was everywhere, and we all wanted to be her, and grew up kind of seeing everything she did and looking at all the books that she wrote and all that kind of thing. And got more and more serious as I kind of got older and went into full-time training, studying ballet, but also jazz, contemporary, tap, bit of everything, and came to New York whenever I could to kind of soak up everything that I possibly could there, which is, of course, where we met. And I've been here, there, and everywhere in my career, as so many of us have, as a teacher, a business owner. I am an adjudicator. I judge lots of competitions now. I'm a dance researcher, an advocate, trying to push things forward in the ballet world. So yeah, it's a very kind of multifaceted career, which is exactly how I like it.
So first of all, you had the opportunity to begin with dance. Something we deal with a great deal in the United States is now that lack of opportunity. So children growing up, all children sing, all children dance. But I've seen a systematic eradication of that kind of joy, that kind of positive energy in the next generation. So I'm so happy you're out there and working with young people and working on new projects such as...
Well, all sorts of things. My area now is kind of linking that pre-professional to professional bridge. So sort of young adults coming into the profession. But of course, I do still do outreach work with younger children as well. But my kind of ethos now is more about that generation and training teachers as well, who will hopefully hook in all of those young children that you were talking about. And my ethos is that they're doing that in a slightly different way than was done in mine and your generations, in a much kinder, more inclusive, more inspiring way than maybe was done in the past. And I'm hopeful that will, really bring people in the way that you're saying, because we are losing the arts, and the people that are making the decisions with the money don't always value the arts like we do. So it's so important that we
bring
get that
up
out
an
there.
important point, which is the funding, the money. Where does it come from? And what inspires those people to say dance, music, the arts are that important that we must support them, that we must bring it forward? I've been so fortunate and one of our upcoming guests, Bill Shipley, has seen that and has come forth with that. But, if I remember, there was almost a military standard that existed in especially the ballet world, but this was global. There was military, almost militant way to teach. So, yes, that opening that up, as you mentioned, can you give me some examples of different styles and different modalities that you're using?
Yeah, so a lot of what I kind of am advocating for is breaking cycles. So, I'm also a mother, as you know, and this is very much discussed within the parenting space as well, that we're parenting in a very different way to how we were parented. And in the teaching space, I'm trying to advocate for the fact that we're teaching in a different way to how we were taught. So, particularly in ballet, as you say, it was very militant. We use this kind of banking model whereby the teacher is all seeing, all knowing, and they deposit knowledge into the student like a coin in a bank. Whereas now we are trying to create these dancers and humans that are much more well-rounded. They're much healthier in the broad spectrum of health, not just physical. And they're thinking dancers, and they're dancers that have boundaries and have a voice. And the way to do that in the early stages, I think, one of the starting points is teaching in a way where we empower students in their learning. So it's not just do this, it should look like this, off you go. They're actually involved in that learning process, and they have a voice, and they are creative. It's not just learning the pre-existing shapes and movement. It's also, well, how could you change that? How could we play with that? What ideas do you have? How would you direct this if this was a certain person's music video? Whatever it happens to be, that just gets them much more involved in what they're doing and less passive. And I think, that's important for their health and well-being, but especially those that don't go on to dance at all. Then we've given them skills they can take forward. But for those that do go into dance, as you know, choreographers today that are creating modern work, they don't work with passive dancers. They work with proactive dancers who are putting forward ideas and have thoughts and have life experiences and want to create alongside them. And that's kind of the standard creative process now. So it's almost like in school, we're expecting these really passive, submissive dancers. And then all of a sudden they go to a company and we say, okay, well, what do you think? And they go, I don't know, I've never thought. So that's kind of what we're trying to create in the training system now, to make sure that we create a different type of dancer.
So the things I hear in that are, where are continuing standards? Standards is a huge issue in what I do, because you can have a thinking dancer, but can you have a competent technical dancer? That's another question. So how do we do that? And then we go back to Mr. Balanchine, and Mr. Balanchine said, my dancers are like vegetables, right? They're things that we move, and that's all we want to do. So you're really discussing an interactive, collaborative situation. But sometimes that works against power.
Yeah, and I mean, this could be a whole podcast in itself if you get me started on Balanchine and hierarchical power systems and all of those kind of things. But I believe we need to kind of completely revise the way that we approach all of these systems, so that they haven't got these all powerful leaders at the top who are dictating everything and treating everyone however they want to, because they can. Because especially for female dancers, we're so replaceable. There's always 100 of us behind that will take our place, no problem. And so we put up with things that we shouldn't. And so I'm very much advocating for those power systems to be looked at and having much more democratic systems. And I know that the argument against that might be, well, how do you get the standards that you're talking about? But in my research and in my experience, I think it is possible to have excellence and also to have safe systems, safe spaces, empowering spaces, equitable spaces. I think all of those things can coincide and are not mutually exclusive.
And are you the only one in the parade that's leading this, or do you have a whole coterie of other teachers and advocates that are supporting this as well?
I'm definitely not the only one. I think that most of my generation and below are very much on this. Gen Z are, way further on this, of course. But not everybody who has these beliefs has the platform to talk about them. And sometimes the people with the platform don't have these beliefs. So I'm trying to kind of bridge the gap where I'm in some of these, very established spaces that I've taught in, or theatres that I've choreographed at, or whatever, where I am now at that point in my career where I'm in those very kind of established institutions, and then talking about this stuff. But I'm certainly not the only one, and there's a huge field of dance research here in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same in the US, where people have been talking about this for years. The difficulty is, how do we implement it?
There's been so much change in the United States. And again, strong words, eradication of. But if I told you the major schools that have disappeared and teachers that have disappeared. So for me, there's in my DNA the search for the gene of joy, of transcension, of aspiration through dance, through the body, and certainly in combination with live music. Are you able to, in your judging and your competition work, are you seeing that coming up?
Yes and no. I mean, yeah, of course, those things meet where the talent and the gift and the opportunity and the joy meet together. But the competition world is, of course, generally white middle class children. And again, I know you've done so much amazing work in this space where we can't just go to the people who already have that opportunity. We need to be going into socioeconomic environments that don't allow for private dance training, because it's not like, here in schools, sport is very much peddled. In fact, music is peddled forwards a lot, but dance is not, of course. And so you pay for it. You can only really get it if you're privately paying for it. And so it's very exclusive. And so, yes, I see those things combine, but we really need national, international outreach programs, doing the things that you've done and spreading them throughout, because we're missing out on a huge pool of talent of children, of course, and also we're missing out on offering the joy and, like you said, the transcendence of dance, and particularly dance to live music, to a whole group of children who arguably are the ones that need it the most.
So I remember when I did missionary work in Ghana, and I was in mostly orphanages. But I'll tell you, every one of those children had the face of God. And of course, they were there preaching, Christianity. I brought forth my gospel, which was song and dance. So I'd get the kids running around and doing any kind of music, any kind of dance, which came to them almost immediately. I mean, those children in Ghana all could sing, all could dance from the time they began life. And that's not the case in our world. It's becoming less and less. I see it more in Ireland. I see it less in the United States. And that's compelling to me.
It's interesting. And I think that, one of the things that we're battling with outside of the economics that we've just discussed, I feel this so much as a parent, is, of course, screens. Our children are growing up on screens, and they're not singing, they're not dancing, they're not climbing trees, they're not doing all of these things. And I don't say that to demonize parents, because there is no way of getting away from that. Even if you don't have them in your home, your children will have them in school. You know, my children's generation will be on screens
forever.
But it's trying, exactly. It's trying to continue to nurture their real life experiences so that they can see that it is a much richer experience to be in a space singing and dancing in real life rather than watching some other kid do it on YouTube.
Right.
You know?
No, it's I call it the devil in a box, because so many, I mean, my kids may sing a little, may dance a little, but even their ear candy is pretty vile. It's pretty vile stuff. And I have to make sure that our soundtrack, whatever we're dancing to, is homogenized. I don't even want to go that far, but there's so much negative, dark stuff in contemporary ear candy music that I can't have my kids dancing to that as well. But the fact is, they say I'm dancing by pointing at a screen. They're not actually dancing. They don't understand that in music. So I just give you so much credit for being that advocate. And you know how you balance all these things. You're a mom, you've got 2 great kids, you've got a wonderful husband. Where are you working exactly now?
All over. So my main teaching is twofold. So I run my own teacher training course, and that is the bread and butter that basically funds everything else that I
And what's
do.
it called?
Anna Morgan Dance.
Anna Morgan Dance. There you go.
Of course.
Yeah.
So the course is to put entry-level teachers through their kind of first teaching qualification, because here, I know it's slightly different in the US, but generally you wouldn't be a dance teacher without following a certain syllabus like the RAD. The ISTD. Yeah. So I put new teachers through those qualifications. And then my other element of teaching is at Bird College, which is one of the main colleges that would funnel people into the West End. So it's a musical theatre college, but I teach ballet there to underpin all of that work. But they go into musical theatre, they go into contemporary, they go into commercial, all different types of things. But yeah, I'm on their ballet faculty.
That concept started from just an idea, and now you've built and grown a structure around all that. So congratulations. Good on you.
Thank you.
A
lot of that was the pandemic, you know, because I was doing this, and I know, you know, the pandemic was obviously horrendous for so many people. And, you know, it wasn't a walk in the park for me either, but business wise, one thing I do think I'm quite good at is, I'm happy to pivot. I'm happy to change.
Pivot.
I always see a new opportunity and I'm ready for it, kind of thing. And I was doing my teacher training prior to that as a bit of a side hustle, and everything was in person. And then obviously we moved online. Suddenly everyone realized that Zoom for teaching dance was obviously horrendous, but Zoom for teaching teachers who already have technical knowledge and ability, and we're talking about theory a lot of the time, and I'm doing lectures on child development and on safe practice and all these things. Well, you can do that on Zoom. So I pivoted this course to being a predominantly online offering, filmed. I've got loads and loads of content filmed so that all of the practical content was professionally filmed so that I have a website, and it's all loaded on the website that they can self-pace their study. And then we do individual one-to-ones on Zoom each week. And then wherever these people are in the world, they fly into me for a week intensive and they take their exam and then they're qualified. So it's a really great kind of system now that works. I really enjoy it. It pays my bills and I get to work with people literally all over the world. I've had students from India, Africa,
That's
amazing. Obviously all over Europe. It's amazing. In fact,
did you create your own standards? Do you use Royal Academy of Dance, or do you have your own standard system?
It's the ISTD, which is the other RAD in our country. But yeah, they set the criteria. So it's all we have a qualifications framework in the UK. So it's all against that. But we're allowed to become approved centres that can deliver this. So like a college kind of thing. And it's been amazing. As I say, business wise, it's great because it underpins and allows me to do some of the more creative projects that perhaps, don't pay so easily. But also, for example, I've just worked with an amazing teacher, Ayomi, who is in Nigeria, and he's become the first teacher in Nigeria to have an internationally recognized teaching qualification. He's amazing. He was self-taught through YouTube before he came to me, has this most gorgeous technique that he's taught for himself. And then I've worked with him to kind of bring that to the next level. And now he's offering this kind of world-class level training where his kids in Nigeria will actually be able to come to ballet schools all around the world. And he's trying to elevate to get a real system out there. So, I would never have been able to do that without Zoom and the pandemic. So
wow,
there's been some positives. Yeah.
No, I'm very, very intrigued by all that more. We haven't spoken as much as we have, but I think just the fact that you have the vision of that pivot or not. A lot of people pivoted off the cliff, so your pivot clearly worked and expanded. And I'm so happy to hear this. I'm so happy to hear that you're moving in that direction and touching so many people using, technology and we don't get along, but clearly technology and you have, feathered this nest of really amazing growth. So I look forward to hearing more about this in the future. And I'm so happy to see you and thank you so much for your kindness and generosity and being with us today. And we'll be in touch very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been an honor to be able to speak with you about all of this.
Thank you, dear. All right. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Take care.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please join us for upcoming podcasts, where we'll speak to some of the most consequential voices in the dance world. For more information, you can go to my website, thomaskflagg.com. In addition, you can find me on all social media platforms. If you want to learn more about me and my unique journey, please check out my book, The Dressing Drink. It chronicles my early life and efforts to better understand my parents, both entertainers in their own right. I'm Thomas Flagg, and thank you for joining us today.